September 5 review, guys. Get ready. What's going on, Alamo City Movie Talk fans? As always, I'm your host, Ryan D. Ryan680.
I'm Angela, the Ange.
And this is Alamo City Movie Talk, guys. First and foremost, thank you so much for making this a part of your day. And it's official, guys, here. I know I keep saying it on and on in the Movie Talk channel. It's award season, guys. We got a lot of movies coming out. We got a lot of films that are just popping everywhere right now before the end of the year for award season, for Oscar nominee. Golden Globes got announced today as well. So let's go ahead and talk about what's our movie today, Angela. What are we talking about today?
So this one we saw. Thank you for Regal for
offering
Regal Monday Mystery.
Yep, Monday Mystery.
So we were so lucky that you guys still do that, and so we just last minute were like, you know what, let's go, and we were pleasantly surprised. I know Ryan was kind of hoping for this one to be shown as part of the Monday Movie Mystery, but today we are reviewing September 5.
September 5 is a historical drama directed by Tim that focuses on the Munich Olympics hostage crisis of 1972. The film explores the event from the perspective of an American sports broadcasting team, transitioning to live news coverage of the tragedy, offering insight into how the incident reshaped live media reporting. The cast includes Peter Sarsgaard as TV executive, and of course this hostage negotiation that did happen around the Olympics and everything. One of the things I do want to touch up on and really want to say is, you know, this movie, and we talk about historical films a lot here in the Movie Talk studios, how impactful it is. And a story that we did not, I personally did not know that this occurred and everything. So knowing the inside of it, we did a few more research items in here and see if it was actually movie based on based on a true story and everything, what was reshaping the whole live coverage situation. And we kind of get a sense of that too, because of the fact how news media has changed so much since then, and sometimes better, sometimes for the worse, sometimes without putting your two sources of facts in there and then telling us one thing and then having public opinion do another.
Yeah, because it's been over 50 years since this happened.
Yes. And we talk about movies, and we talk about movies all the time. You know, we just got seeing Flow. Check out our Flow review. We'll come out with later this week. Movies impact us in so many different ways, right? Would you not agree, Angela? They impact us. Yeah, they impact us in so many different ways. And this one particularly is a very impactful, horrific terrorism act that occurred in 1972.
In the Olympics.
Yeah, in the Olympics. And, you know, it's crazy to me because, you know, these athletes trained so many years, just a chance to be in the Olympics. And for this catastrophe, for this tragedy to really occur not so long ago, right after World War II, not so long ago when the Jews were the Holocaust, where they were persecuted. We talk about that a lot. I'm a huge history buff guy that really enjoys history because we don't want history to repeat itself, of course. And also that, you know, history, we learn from our tragedies, we learn from the struggles, we learn from our past unhumanity decisions that we have made a lot, and the suffering and everything. So with that to say, you know, this movie was very impactful. I encourage everyone to go see this movie. I encourage every single American to go see this movie. I encourage everyone and you don't have to be American. I encourage anyone to go to see this movie because it's a very insightful way to where not just where media coverage occurred, but also the struggles. And we see that too at the same time. The technology, how slow motion was, like you get to see that insight that I never, I was like, what the heck?
Even the small things like putting
what did you think of this movie? I'm sorry, I'm taking the help all the time.
Oh, no. Yeah. I really, really liked that it told a story that we need to be reminded of because, again, it happened over 50 years ago. I agree with you. I never personally heard of this happening, and I think it's something we shouldn't forget. Like you say, history repeats itself, and we need to learn from you know what's happened in the past. And I think it was told very well because, again, you don't see, quote unquote, the action happening in live, but you see the intensity in the actual studio room trying to figure out the pieces together, how to get on the ground, how to get eyes on what's happening. Because, again, at the very end, it said it shaped. This was like one of the first times a terrorist act was broadcast live for people to watch, and people did. It said 900 million people worldwide watched. You
feel that tensity, you feel that tension between viewers, between audiences, between the decisions of the newscast. In this case, it was NBC.
ABC.
Oh, ABC. I'm sorry, ABC, and then CBS, and then you see the struggles of using both satellites.
Yeah,
and,
like
and,
you have to use the
yeah,
satellites, coordinate the different cameras. You have to get the film and develop the
coordinate
film
different studios
and slot times too. So
Yeah.
you see all that happening, and to provide this story to the American public about what's
Yeah.
happening, or to the worldwide public actually. And again, I think it was such an intense movie because again, as you as an audience member
Yeah.
are figuring out exactly what's happening at the same time the reporters are, and it was really interesting to see that unfold on screen because again, this is a sports. They were covering the Olympics, so
Yes.
not something that they usually handled.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. So I do want to say that too as well, is that sports, so they decided to take on the news, but because it happened in the sports Olympics, why, it kind of makes sense to where Peter's character is like,
Yeah,
why are they going to report it that's all across the world when we're here and we're sports, and that's all they cover is sports. They're not used to this type of coverage. They're not used to these type of real tension moments. And you get to see a lot of the highlights shine in here as far as like the news people. There's a lot of strategy in here. There really is. There's a lot of mechanics behind it. There's a lot of people working to just give us the real story.
A lot of parts moving. Yeah, because you have
Huge
the different
parts.
cameras, transitions, the captions, the photographs. How do you report it?
The huge cameras that they use.
The anchor,
Yeah.
we have all these moving parts to have to coordinate into providing a seamless news story for the public. And it was very, very cool to see that.
Yeah.
And again, I really appreciated that it was told in such a very impactful way. You learned it as we learned it with the studio crew. So it was very impactful. It's such a tragedy that happened. And, again, we have to learn from the history and learn from our mistakes. And I really like this film. I think it was very, very well done. Yeah,
John, he's one of the lead guys here carrying this movie. He's in charge of the room. He plays Jeffrey. And so he's the guy that has to give,
and he's new on the spot.
New on the spot. He thought it was gonna be a smooth ride,
command the whole studio.
And this was his first time really doing it, one of his first times doing it, and taking on the role of just what's being broadcast, to the camera angles, the different segments, the different interviews, the different angles that they want to do. So everything's through him. And you really see that take a toll on him from the beginning of this film to the end, and you get to see the impactful tension of the world in so to speak, in the world of like, am I giving the right news? Am I giving the right facts to the public? And knowing that it was so many millions of people watching this, more people were watching this than they were watching at the first step, small step for man.
I think it also kind of like touches on like ethics, because it kind of teeters on what news would go to show a story, and you have to kind of question like, should you do that? Like, should
I feel like we're struggling with that already right now.
I think that's always like a toe. I feel like it's media
unpractical right now, though. I feel like it's unpractical and it's unpracticed.
Because like for this one, they kind of like pretended to be an Olympian to kind of get into the Olympic Village to kind of get footage. But again, they also teetered with the ethics of, if there's live shooting, if they do shoot hostages live on screen, do we air it live? Like, what
the execution,
right? So at one point, do you show to the media and not? So that's a very important question, I think. Ethic wise, that was brought up too. Like, at what point, like, what do you not show the public? Out of respect and everything. So again, and same thing too. What you have to confirm sources, because again, they brought up a good point. Like, a lot of what the information that's being shown is being seen by the family and loved ones of those who were taken hostage. So like, what do you show to that? Because they're watching. Everyone's watching. So I think there were hard questions that I think even is relevant to today.
Yes. Oh, and then going to where I was going with it was the fact that fact checking everything, making sure it's accurate, running with the story, and then it's such an eye opener, because at this time there was no fact checking, right? Or there was no like, one of the things I'm gonna say, they practice, and I appreciate that. In the beginning of this film, they practiced it, and then towards the end, they were like, they didn't do it, but they still reported on something. And we're not going to mention it because it's going to spoil it.
Yeah, it's making a judgment call. You can't just like Google anything. It's the 70s. You had to like have physical sources.
Yeah, two credible sources. Yeah, and the decision they make, they don't give them the two credible sources. So then, therefore, there was a quote that they said, if we run with it, everyone's just going to run with it. And I feel like that's what happens even today, where they don't get credibility and everyone just runs with the same story. It happens a lot in movie news too. It happens not just in the regular news, regular news that happens, in the world. It happens to movie news all the time. Entertainment Weekly happens to Variety, happens to Forbes. It happens to, once Variety reports it, we're all going to report it. It's just the way the world works, the way news coverage works. Because you want to be the first one in, but not always the right one. That's the thing. That's the crazy part that we're living in right now. You do not want to be the right. You don't want to have the right story. You want to be the first one with that story. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way we're at right now. But anyways, not going into the media outcome and everything, but in the media where we are today and everything. But was this the film we deserve to say? Hell yes, it was.
Absolutely.
Fantastic movie. Again, I go back to saying every person should watch this movie. Gives us insight to where the newsroom, how much pressure is on, how much tension is really revealed there. And I love watching the reenactments of these actors and actresses enact all over again what occurred so many years ago.
Yeah, again, you already kind of sense it's a high pressure situation, trying to get all the reporting right, all the just in the day-to-day Olympics, because it was one of the first times, I guess, they had said colored television Olympics are being broadcast and everyone's watching it. So that's pressure enough as it is. But I mean, when you have a team that's now reporting on a very high intense situation,
exactly,
that's dealing with a very tragic situation, you can sense it just off the screen. I think the actors did just a great job portraying that.
Yes, they did.
Reenacting these roles.
Every single one of them.
Every one of them.
Yeah. You saw it on their face. Fantastic. You really saw it on their face. And I could see this movie being nominated for Best Picture. And I know I could see it being nominated for a few awards here and there. But I in reality, in the end of the day, this, under the circumstances and everything, we know is a tragedy, but the movie itself was made really great, and it's made for a reason to bring insight into the situation that occurred. That maybe we didn't know. I'm pretty sure our parents probably know, but something we didn't know, and it also brings that research insight to where let's research it, let's look it up.
Again, I think that's a testament to how good of a movie it is. If you want to know more about it once you leave the theater, we didn't know anything about this going in. Yeah. Now we learned. Now we want to learn more. And again, exactly. I think that's a really good, successful takeaway from the film. Yes. That if you want to look it up on your own, learn more about it and other things too, that's a huge success. I'm pretty sure there's documentaries already about it and everything, obviously. And so you get to look at that. You get to look at history and everything and learn to not repeat it. All right. What are you rating 1 out of 10? 10 be the highest, Angela. What are you going to give this rating? It was such a really well done film. I think, again, all the actors, actresses, the way it was shot, beautifully edited. I think it was fantastic. I would give it a solid 9. Yeah, because it was a really, really well done film.
This movie, it has so much tension. It has so much struggles. It has so much revealing a lot of where even the captions, how they made the captions, how they made the logos, it showed us an insight that I never thought I would see, in a movie and everything. And I love how it really brought out not just, of course, the terrorism acts and everything, not because the tragedy and everything, but more so of what it takes to run a newsroom. And even more so, it's probably the same thing today. Obviously, even though technology has changed and everything, but the tension, the actors, Peter did a great job in here as one of the head executive producers in here. So I was very, very intrigued when when I saw him on this trailer. And yeah, I have to give it a solid 9 out of 10 as well, because of the fact that the tension, you could see it in their faces, the sweat in their faces, the reveal was just as the climax was so good, and it brought me it brought me emotionally grounded and emotionally relatable to such things, because how horrific a terrorism act can really impact everyone and their surroundings and everything. But yeah, this movie is very impactful. I do recommend it to every single moviegoer out there to go check this movie out, because yeah, it's a very powerful film, and I'll leave it at that, guys. But yeah, all right, we do recommend this movie. Thank you so much for making us part of your day. We do recommend this film, guys. Be sure to check this out at a theater near you. And yeah, as always, I'm your host, Ryan D. Ryan680, guys.
I'm Angela Ange.
And this is Alamo City Movie Talk, guys. You know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. Get notified for our movie reviews like this one or trailer reactions. See you at the movies. Latest.